Yeah. All right. Trying to get a handle on how to do this as I haven't done it before, so pardon me for stumbling through. Okay. All right. Let's see how this goes. So all I'm doing here, chit-chatting about. All right, see, that's a problem. I gotta stop that video. Okay, so I'm literally just chilling tonight, watching the California LA situation or happen. I was like, maybe I'll just go live. Never done it before, so we'll see how it goes. But I am stumbling and fumbling my way through this. So talk about what's happening in LA right now. So let me pull up. I'm trying to make sure I don't get copyright so that you guys can't hear it. So again, I'm new at this. I apologize. Okay, I don't think you guys can hear that. All right, so all right, so just watching some news about what's going on in LA. Sorry. Again, I've never done this before. It's all new to me. So what I see currently, basically, I'm watching some live news feed out of Fox 11 LA. So the big thing that's been happening is the National Guard was called in through President Trump, and they didn't go through the proper process. So that raises some federal questions and legality and all that good stuff. And who are the state National Guard going to be responding to? And it's also talking about cross coordination and working together and all that. There's been some issues with that. Let's see what else. It was interesting. I listened to the news, the press release with the LA County or the Los Angeles chief, the Los Angeles Police Department chief, and he really kind of explained the process of getting to the point where you call in the National Guard. It wasn't just boom, call in the National Guard. And there was a hierarchy that happens in regards to mutual aid, calling in the sheriff's department, because the sheriff's department are always kind of like the law of the land, the top dog law enforcement in the county, and then you would go to the state and ask. But because Trump immediately deployed them from a federal level, took them over and deployed them from a federal level, it changed the game on a few things. So again, I'm just kind of stumbling through that and learning about it myself. So again, I actually do have some contact and some information about what's going on down there. It just regards to not necessarily decisions that are being made, but decisions that are not being made due to the fact that there's no communication. So that's a big problem. So I'm just talking about what's going on in LA. So I'm watching this ICE protest, anti-ICE protests. And for those who are saying, oh, it's a protest. No, I fully support protests. Get out there, make your signs, write fuck ICE all over the place, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. But I just cannot condone the riots in any way, shape, or form. And that's not a protest. Protest is organizing, coming together, line the streets, line the roads, make your case known, get out there and let law enforcement know what you think. Tell them to go screw themselves, do all that good stuff. But chucking bowling ball sized chunks of concrete at the passing law enforcement vehicles and trying to kill them is not a protest. That's a riot. So this is, again, just on my personal perspective. And so I had a conversation with somebody who is very intimately familiar with how these raids take place. And they had stated to me that these are targeted raids. They know who they're going for. Now, when they do these targeted raids, they often, unfortunately, there's going to be others there who are undocumented. So if you've ever watched my channel or been on my social media, I've always stood for strong immigration. But I also believe in the humanity and dignity of people. I don't believe in just, I don't know, there's a humane way to take care of things, but I also believe that if if you're in the country illegally, then you should have taken care of that. Just like if I went over to Italy and did the same thing or whatever the case may be and stayed there. I'm someone who has personally been on the front line of doing immigration. I was never immigration, and I never checked people's immigration status or anything like that. But I did targeted enforcement regarding human smuggling and drug smuggling, which ties directly into illegal immigrants coming across the border from Mexico. So I am intimately familiar with doing things like that, and I'm intimately familiar with what these immigrants go through and what happens. Now, it is my understanding, though, that recently it has changed, and there's a lot of, it's a lot less families and women and children, and it's a lot more younger men, which has been some concern for a while. But there needs to be a rule of law. And as somebody who did this stuff personally, every single human that I pulled over and made a traffic stop with and then came into contact with who was an illegal immigrant, they might not have been a hardened criminal. They might not have been anything other than trying to come to America and make a better life for themselves. But every single one of them was using somebody else's identification in some way, shape, or form, whether it was an address or a social security number or whatever the case may be. So that are unintended consequences of just letting everybody come over. I don't have any answers. I'm just talking. I'm just talking right now. So. See something here. And I'm just giving a reaction to what's going on in LA. So let me catch up on the news here that's happening in LA. Third night of anti-ICE protests. It's no longer a protest, it's a full-blown riot. I am not just blatantly on the side of law enforcement in all situations. In a situation like this, it's extremely volatile. I have been involved in protests in Phoenix about immigration stuff back in the day, back in 2010. We had the same sort of issues. And I was right in the thick of it, deployed with the state police. And I was a young pup. And luckily, there was a seasoned major there that saw the two opposing sizes that were starting to converge on each other, but there was no violence. And that captain actually said for us to retreat, not to leave the area. We were just there for a presence, just in case something bad did happen, but to just go back inside the buildings, back inside the House of Representatives building and the Senate building, and then in the Arizona State Capitol, the center area, it's like a U. It's called the Rose Garden. So the protesters were in there, and we backed out, and the two groups clashed. The two groups clashed, and they yelled, and they waved signs and everything like that, and we let them go at it. And we let them just kind of sit there and heat it out. And then after a while, it did die down. And then we came back out, made our presence known. And then after about an hour or so, they started to disperse. Every situation is different. This is not that situation. But I'm just giving that as an example to state that I agree with the fact that there needs to be the ultimate restraint, especially in a situation like this. This is very volatile. I don't care if somebody is an immigrant or a illegal immigrant or a United States citizen. I don't care. They still need to be treated as respectful as possible, as respectful as that person is giving them. If you're walking towards law enforcement in a skirmish line like this with a rock in your hand or a chunk of concrete, you sealed your own fate in that. That's on you. Whatever happens after that happens after that. If you're throwing chunks of concrete at passing law enforcement vehicles that are large enough to go through windshields, whatever happens to you happens to you. You have sealed your own fate. That's a lethal force encounter. 100%. That's absolutely a lethal force encounter. I would argue that all day long. 100%. And that's not a protest. Organize. Line the streets. Call your every representative. Yell at them. Line the streets. Get out there. Make your voices heard. But this ain't it. This is all the wrong way. Just watching a little more news and catching up on what's going on in LA. So I've never done this before. So I'm just getting used to being live and having people watch me. So say hello, send me something. If I'm missing it, I'm sorry. Said I'm still new at this, so I'm trying to see. If it pops up somewhere. Why are they shooting tear gas towards people that are just standing around? I saw that on TikTok today. So it depends on what the situation is specifically. A lot of them, if it's been declared an unlawful assembly, so if it's escalated from a protest, not even peaceful anymore or anything like that, if it has escalated and law enforcement has now deemed it an unlawful assembly, now that's time to disperse. So it's the whole ask, tell, make. We've asked you to leave. We've told you to leave. Now we're going to make you leave. So, and did you get CS Cast? Just curious if you've ever had that experience, because I had that. But if the order to disperse has been given, then it has now been declared unlawful. So if it's been declared unlawful, now it's a riot. And if it's a riot, now they can arrest. So now you're trespassing and all sorts of other things. So that's mostly just trying to get people to disperse. Yeah, CS sucks. But it's also the sort of thing, though, too, where once you're out of it, you waft and get some fresh air and all that, it dissipates relatively quickly. Now, pepper spray, that's the gift that keeps on giving. And that shit sucks. That's the worst I've ever had. The interesting thing that I have heard, and I'm not trying to be political at all, but the fact that both the leadership of the state of California and the city of LA have come out and stated that things that the federal government has done has inflamed the situation. And not once have I heard them come out and say, the mayor came out and stated that, yes, those who break the law should be arrested. Okay, great. But she has not come out and called for peace. Governor Newsom has not called for peace in any way, shape, or form. They have not said everybody needs to settle down. Everybody needs to take a step back. Let's have a discussion and a dialogue and a conversation. Maybe get the dude, Tom Homan, out there and say, hey, this is why we're doing this. And, and I know there was the element of surprise in regards to the doing it, so that they had the element of surprise, so that it wasn't tipped off, so that there wasn't protests. There was a reason why they did what they did. But at the same time, none of the leaders have actually called for peace. None of the leaders have stated, this is wrong, stop doing it, and let's have a dialogue. They've all just blamed the federal government's actions, which I'm not 100% on board with. So this is kind of fun. You're welcome, Shannon. So, and I've never advertised that I was going live, so I appreciate you being here. Thank you for tuning in. I'm listening. I'm also trying to, like I said, I don't know how to do all this stuff. I don't know how to bring it all in and make it look cool. So I also don't want to get a copyright strike. So I'm not playing any of the news that I'm watching. And I hope I'm not. So that you can't hear it, just so that I can hear it and react. And I kind of looked up on how to do this and, just do this sort of thing. And then, because I don't want to get in trouble or get a copyright strike from Fox. That would suck. So I'm just watching the rest of the news. I watch a couple of independent ones. Let's see here. Oh, I just lost the feed I was watching. Live LA News. So I'm fortunate that I do have some contacts Oh, see, now they're looting. Now there's looting. Ports of businesses down looted in downtown. It's not a protest. That's a riot. It's not a protest. Said I'm 100% for free speech. I'm a free speech absolutist. Yeah, so there's a news is showing that a shoe store has been looted. Breaking news. That's not a protest. It is a vicious cycle that the more escalation in violence, the more they're going to say they need the federal troops. The more the federal troops are, the more they'll agitate, the more they'll increase the violence, the more they're going to say they need the federal troops. So it's just a cycle. But then again, these people just don't give a shit what the reason is. They just want a reason to loot. They just want a reason to riot. They just want a reason to be destructive. This has nothing to do with the nuanced position of what immigration is. What else? Yeah. And again, the people that are down there now, there's no protest. You're just down there just to cause havoc. Mob mentality. What was the purpose of burning 4 Waymo vehicles today? And somehow I don't know. Yeah, jewelry store's been looted. Shoe store's been looted. I don't know LA at all. So it's at 6th Street. So, wild times. Super wild times. Well, Shannon, that's what I'm trying to give is like, there's things that I've seen and haven't seen. Like I've fought the front lines of immigration, like physically pulling the people over and having them deported. I didn't deport them because I wasn't it. But then now being out of law enforcement for so long, it's like I understand there's the whole human side to it, and there's there's a whole human other side to getting this sort of thing taken care of. And I think there's my personal perspective is they should have been going into the Hispanic communities and going to the Hispanic leaders and saying, hey, look, or the Korean town, I know Koreatown's big there, or Chinatown or whatever, going into the diverse communities and saying, hey, look, this is going to happen. And we are looking for these people. So the information that I was given is that these were in fact targeted arrests, targeted deportations. So they had names of people that they were going to go for. So, there could have been a conversation with leaders, but then again, that could have sparked bigger protest or outrage or something planned. A lot of people were saying they were all lined up. They kept telling younger people to peacefully protest. And again, that's just, this mob mentality that takes over. Mob mentality is wild. You can feel it in the air. You can absolutely feel it in the air. Let's see what else is going on here. Come on. Yeah, they're just showing more videos of there's a downtown part of LA that's called the Palace that's been looted. LAPD is racing to the scene. Yeah, it wasn't, like I said, I've been involved in a couple of protests, and I've been involved in on both sides now. I've been involved from law enforcement, and then I've been involved at a protest, involved with Arizona NORML. I was involved in a protest of a dispensary, and we were down there on Camelback Road, I think it was Camelback, marching right in front of it and all that. It was really neat, and it was the epitome of what America is supposed to be in exercising your free speech and exercising your First Amendment rights to peacefully protest. And we were picketing, and we had signs, and we stayed on the sidewalk. I actually went, and because I am who I am, and I walked up there, and I went up to the law enforcement. I said, hey, here's who I am. what do you want us to do? Where can we go? He said, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. We said, okay, cool, totally good, and didn't have any issues whatsoever. We had to cross where the cars would go in and out of the business. When a car would want to come in or go, everybody would stop. I mean, and there was like 200 people at this protest, so there was quite a few people walking up and down these sidewalks. And nobody got hit, nobody got hurt, nobody got arrested. Everybody listened, they made their point. Again, I'm all for that. I'm all for peaceful disruption. I'm all for peaceful, the way of Gandhi. But no, make your voices heard. I believe in that. All right. Not having any audio on this one. Hang on. I did see today it was absolutely wild. There was a skirmish line coming down, pushing protesters. This was just a couple of hours ago, and there was a law enforcement or officers with the shields in the front, and then behind them were the horses. I never got to work with horses. That would have been kind of cool, but horses. And then what was happening is that the crowd was launching huge fireworks right at the horses. So it would go up and over the officers, and it was dropping behind them, and then the officers on the horses would try to scatter, and it looked very dangerous. I mean, imagine how heavy a horse is if it falls over on you, whatever. But and then they would form back up, and they would continue to push. Like I said, this was all just on Fox just a little bit ago. They'd continue to push, and that happened several times. And then next thing I saw was there was a little bit of tree cover. Somebody threw a Molotov cocktail, and it hit underneath the horse, and boom, it spread. And next thing you know, the horses are stepping over the fire. And I'm, I'm sorry, you're done. You're done. Yeah, I have no sympathy for that. No, thank you. You're done. That was one of the most incredible things I'd ever seen on live TV, was throwing it at horses. Yeah, the officers might have been on the horses too, but no. There's no reason for that. That was ridiculous. What are we watching now? There's something weird going on. There's just mayhem and chaos in LA right now. There's just mayhem and chaos, and there's some car that's driving wild, and people are throwing rocks at it, and there's pedestrians all over the road. Oh, there you go. Sorry. The most wild things are happening. There's a pursuit of a vehicle, not by law enforcement, though. There's citizens that are trying to stop a car. It's wild in California right now. It's just mayhem and chaos and pandemonium. Wild. I'm just watching it. Like I said, I'm just watching this. It's not being chased by law enforcement. It's just being chased by people. Oh boy, almost hit and killed somebody. Actually, well, it's kind of fun while these people do these reaction videos. Oh, I'm not trying to be like that at all. I just was bored, sitting at home, chilling, doing nothing, watching the stuff take place, and I was like, I think I got something to say about this. I'll go live, have a little fun. Yeah, I'm just giving my thoughts, and I'm fortunate enough to know somebody who's in the area that's given me some just random information, as well as somebody who kind of knows what's going on with the Border Patrol and all that. And there's no need for what's going on right now. I'm also trying to get used to doing this whole live thing because I think it's the way of the future. Whoever's watching me on on Twitch, thank you. I haven't been on Twitch in forever, and I can't believe we're connected to it. Yeah, and this car is just running wild. I'm going to find another news source to see. Let me see here. Oh, here's a good one. Lots of activity down on the ground. It's just LAPD running code 3 everywhere. Code 3 means lights and sirens. And with those new freaking LED lights, you can see them from a mile away. They're just showing random videos of just random wildness that's happening in LA. But I was just giving my take on it and watching it, and again, like, this is not the way that you make a point. This is just chaos. And the leaders not being out there saying that we need to call for calm, and everything else is just the most wild to me. At no point in time have they gotten out there and gotten in front of social media or anything like that and said, hey, everybody calm down. You know, let's have a conversation and let's maybe get the feds to explain why they're doing what they're doing or what they're doing. Like, I don't think the feds should have gone in there and started taking over shit and handled it exactly the way they did. But I also believe that there needs to be immigration. There needs to be control. There needs to be law enforcement action taken. I've just gotten a little softer in my old age. So yeah, just flipping through the news channels, watching what's going on. I'm learning how to do this, so I came on the live and all that, and just trying to watch the video and tell you all what's going on and giving my take on the immigration stuff and what's happening in California. So I took a minute there to listen because I'm still new at this stuff and I'm still trying to figure out what I can do and can't do, and I don't want to stream somebody else's material and get a copyright infringement because I'm not good with this stuff or haven't done it at all, because I know that's like the death sentence and I don't want that for my channel. I want to stay in good standing because I want to be able to have good conversations. But yeah, so I was just listening to him talk about, he was saying, I'm paying for this feed, don't copyright me. So I know you can do that. Like, say there was a news feed I wanted to like broadcast, kind of a little picture in picture. I could contact them and pay them to do that. But no, I'm not doing that yet. Maybe as time goes on and if I do more lives and they become more popular, maybe it's something I would do. Things do appear to be dying down, though. So I'm bouncing around like I just found one that has multiple feeds. But things do appear to be dying down a little bit. What's really neat and fun, though, if you have it, or it's free actually, download the Flight Radar. You can go download Flight Radar and see how many helicopters and aircraft are over a location. And it's wild how much there is right now over the downtown LA area. I did find a news feed that has multiple police scanners going and just kind of multiple things that it's monitoring. So and it's just a lot of commotion right now. Not a whole lot going on. Yeah, just lots of commotion. They're putting out those Waymo fires finally. That's wild, huh? Four Waymo cars got burned to the ground on live national TV. Awesome. I saw the dude on top of it with his skateboard trying to spin the radar to knock the radar off the top. It's like, what are we doing here? Are you that fucking stupid? The answer to that question is yes, he is that stupid. But I said I'm watching one feed that there's quite a bit of commotion that's happening. They're pushing a dumpster into the street. It's a good way of protesting. My heart does go out to the first responders that are involved in all this stuff. And I can tell you from personal experience that there's not a single one of them that wants to be using force against their own citizens, even against the non citizens, even against immigrants or anything like that. There's not a single one of them that wants to be out there doing this at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. They want to be home with their families. There's not a single one of them that takes enjoyment in knowing that, they could get hit with something or they might have to use force. I'm listening to a live news feed. I think I can pop it in for like a second. Hang on here. There, I don't want to do that. I don't want to get a copyright strike. But it's multiple police radios that are going on, and there's lots of hot traffic going on. Um, I don't know their police codes though. I'm not a police dork in regards to like I'm not out there like LAPD's codes are and New York PD. I don't give a shit about that stuff anymore. I don't care. I don't keep up on any of that type of stuff. It's not what I care about anymore. But they're all universal codes though, and they're all universal like radio standards too. So I'm just trying to listen to them, and it's just trying to figure out what they're talking about and saying. There's a lot of stuff going on though in the city. Ooh, I'm gonna pull up Google Maps. Can I stream that? All right. Sorry if I forget to talk every once in a while. Like, what the hell is he doing? I'm figuring this out. I've never done this before, so I've never meaning like the live streaming stuff, and I'm trying to like again, I'm talking about what's happening in LA and all that, so I'm trying to listen to what's the current stuff. Okay, so it says I cannot restream Google Maps as the primary visual content. Okay, I'm gonna pull up Google Maps and see. So I haven't done this before, so I'm trying to not get a copyright strike and piss everybody off and lose money. Let's see here. Uh, Pardon my. Okay, so it's not the primary source. Okay, that should work.
Engine 2 copy.
All right.
And if possible, a 10-459 suspect just west 505 South San Pedro Street. Unit 516. There's no suspect information. Other comments, code 2, incident 3662, RD 156.
Traffic. Layers. Traffic. Terrain. Alright, so the whole highway shut down. The 101 freeway is shut down. That looks like it would be pretty serious. What airport is that? Oh no, it's the trains. Okay. So there's a train station. There's Chinatown right here. So this is happening along Chinatown. They've shut the whole eastbound 101 down. I'm sorry, westbound 101 from the 710. So that looks like, LA traffic. That's gonna be a bitch. Uh,
81 Tango, let's go.
yeah.
81 Roger.
All right. I'm gonna turn that off so that I don't get in trouble. All right. Yeah, with all the stuff going on in LA, we've got with the riots that are happening, there's still regular police calls that are happening. So you're hearing that like a domestic violence just kicked out that they have to respond to. Oh, here we go. Fires. Yeah, stuff's wild. Go home. Go to bed. Fuck are you doing out so late? Like, come on now. All right, I'm gonna head off of this in just a minute. So I thank you for joining me and for those who joined me. It was fun. I'd like to do more of these. I've never done them before. So this is my first one where I've like talked about current news, but I've always been pretty strong on immigration. I've always been, pretty strong in law enforcement, but also citizens' rights. So it's a complicated issue. This is a complicated thing that's happening right now. I think it's important to talk about. I think it could have been handled differently. Um, and I don't know the reality of on the ground of other than what I see on the news and the destruction. I don't know how, when you see something in a city that you're not aware of, I don't know how widespread it is. Is it like the whole city or is it just a couple streets, just blown out of proportion? I don't know. Um, but it's one of these things that I care about, and I care about the officers and the first responders that are out there, and the firefighters, the paramedics, and and all that stuff. And for the dipshit rioters, not protesters, but rioters that are out there for all the wrong reasons. Again, if your family is affected by this, if your family is affected by the immigration policies of this country, if your family is affected by that, I'm sorry. Um, it's not lost on me the human component of all of it. I've said it before that I'm only second generation. My grandmother was the first one born here. So my grandmother, my father, and then me. So technically I'd be third generation born in America. So I get it. You know, my family has immigration and all that type of stuff, but there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. There's a way to come into this country, and I'm not heartless. I'm not saying anything other than the fact that there's a right way and a wrong way. And I understand the human component of it. But I also very much understand that there is a criminal element to it. There's a criminal element to those that are coming into this country illegally, not just the criminal element in which that they are breaking the law of coming into the country illegally. I'm talking bad dudes, bad guys, cartel members, um, that don't value human life the same way that we as Americans do. And that needs to be found, and that needs to be stopped, and that needs to be rooted out. That needs to be ripped out of our society and taken out of our society. And again, there's a right way and there's a wrong way to do it. The fact that law enforcement has not opened fire and there's not been a death in the last 72 hours in LA is a testament to the fact that they don't want to kill people. I said, I'm not agreeing with everything that has been done in any way, shape, or form. I'm not agreeing with all of the stuff that I've seen. I'm just stating the fact that there have been multiple things that I have seen on the news live, particularly that of bowling ball chunk-sized chunks of concrete getting thrown through windshields. That's deadly force. Sorry, wild times. All right, maybe I'll do this again tomorrow night if they're popping off again. Thanks, everyone. I'm gonna head out.